chapter 1. And ye shall receive power after the Holy Ghost is come upon you. In other words, this is the kind of power that will reproduce power. This is the kind of power that doesn't need a plug. This is the kind of power that doesn't need another source. This is the kind of power that on the inside of itself can produce something. Is there anybody in here that knows what I'm talking about? And if I got a few Holy Ghost folk in here, you know what kind of power I'm talking about. I'm talking about you don't need to plug into somebody else's worship. You don't need to tap into somebody else's prayer. But because you have the Holy Ghost on the inside of you, you've got power that produces power on the inside of you. I'm talking about you may not be able to find somebody to encourage you, but if you got the Holy Ghost on the inside of you, there's a power on the inside that will cause you to be encouraged when nobody encourages you. There's a power on the inside of you that will cause you to have joy when nobody else has joy. That's the power that produces power. Now, getting back to the text, it's interesting because Elijah has to go through a process to get that power. Now, many of us want the kind of power that we're talking about tonight, but we don't want to go through the process. But I dare you to touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, you've got to go through the process. So when we begin to go to the second chapter, 2 Kings, we find Elijah departing, and we also we see Elisha following him. And in the text it reads, we didn't read that part, it reads Elisha went with Elijah. Now Elijah's the one being followed, but when you read it in the text it said Elisha is the one that's going with Elijah. In other words, Elijah was going anyway. Okay. But Elisha said, no, you're not going without me. Because what you have, I need, and I need twice of what you have. So whatever it takes for you to get that, I'm willing to go through that process. Now, what you will find is many people that want to be gifted, but don't want to be anointed. They want to be gifted, and what they will start doing is picking up Bibles, but not reading them. Walking around with Bibles, but not knowing what they say on the inside. Yeah. Just like some of our musician friends that carry around instruments, but can't play. Yeah, and don't think that just because you got an expensive instrument that you can play the instrument. Because if you don't go through the process, it doesn't matter whether the guitar costs $2 or $5,000, you can't play. Lord have mercy. And I'm afraid that we've got people that are ready to preach and all they study is the look, the act, the dress, but they don't want to study the process. That's why it's hard to find people that want to be anointed submitting to good leadership. People that want to be anointed sometimes have a hard time submitting to good leadership, because what happens is leadership will hold you accountable. Leadership will test you. Leadership will check you. And if you don't want to be checked, tested, held accountable, you're not going to walk with good leadership. Here's the part where you don't shout. Now, I'm gonna need some help from the people that came to help me tonight. So I need to hear you tonight if you came to help me. Is that all right? See,